Blood is a fluid connective tissue that we'll talk about in a little bit more detail later on, but blood sets within a fluid known as plasma. And inside of the blood plasma is where you're going to find the cells of blood. And there are two main cell types that we talk about, two groupings of cell types. They're what we call red blood cells, right? These are often referred to as erythrocytes. Erythrocytes. Okay, so those are your red blood cells. And then you have your white blood cells. And white blood cells are called leukocytes. So two main cell types, your red blood cells and your white blood cells. Now in mammals, the red blood cell is anucleate, meaning it's without a nucleus, and that's a mammalian feature. Okay, so that's one way that we can define them. And then their white blood cells there are a couple different types of leukocytes that we'll talk about later. On top of that, there are cell fragments that are associated with blood, and these are known as platelets. And the cell fragments, those platelets, help in clotting of the blood. Very important in the clotting of the blood. And again, we'll talk about these more when we get to blood later on. But let's take a look at the blood tissue under a microscope and see what that's going to look like. Here we can see blood as a tissue. And remember, blood is made up of red blood cells, erythrocytes, white blood cells, leukocytes, and then platelets. So what we can see here, this is a red blood cell. These are red blood cells or erythrocytes. These are anucleate, so this tells me this is mammalian blood. And then here we can see a lymphocyte, which is a type of leukocyte or a white blood cell. So here we have our red blood cells and here we have our white blood cells. And that is all sort of suspended in that fluid called plasma.